For 99% of human history, an uninterrupted 8 hours of sleep meant you were dead. You lie awake at 3:14 a.m. The digital clock on your nightstand is a glowing red eye mocking your exhaustion. Your heart hammers against your ribs. Your mind is a racing engine completely disconnected from the transmission. You scroll through endless articles on insomnia, desperately searching for a cure. You stare at the ceiling, utterly convinced that your brain is defective. You believe you are broken. But you are not broken. Your brain is lying to you. You do not have a modern sleep disorder. You are suffering from a profound evolutionary mismatch. You are running 300,000-year-old survival software inside a 21st century cage. I am going to show you exactly how your ancestors survived the pitch-black terror of the prehistoric night. By the end of this video, I am going to reveal the biological secret behind your 3 a.m. panic, a burning secret that will completely shatter how you view your own mind forever. Think about that for a second. How did a soft, slow, night-blind ape survive the pitch-black savanna filled with 700-pound predators? They did not survive by simply sinking into deep, uninterrupted comas on the forest floor. They survived by engineering physical safety from the ground up in a world that constantly wanted to eat them. Archaeological evidence from South Africa's border cave shows that over 200,000 years ago, humans were already constructing complex, layered beds. They didn't just sleep in the dirt. They laid broad-leafed grasses from the Panicoideae subfamily over a meticulously constructed foundation of wood ash. Think of this ash layer as a microscopic razor wire fence. It acted as a natural desiccant and physical barricade, blocking the breathing apparatus of parasitic ticks and instantly dehydrating crawling insects. By 77,000 years ago at Sibutu Cave, they were topping these beds with the leaves of the river wild quince tree, a plant packed with powerful, natural insect-repelling chemicals. They even performed regular controlled burns of these beds to obliterate pests and maintain hygiene, hitting a reset button on their sleep environment. But even with a pest-free bed of ash, how could you actually close your eyes knowing cave lions and hyenas were prowling just beyond the firelight? By realizing that physical shelter was never enough, they had to invent a behavioral shield. They substituted the physical protection of the high forest canopy, which our distant ape ancestors used by building elevated nests high in the trees, with the social protection of the collective tribe. They huddled closely together around a central hearth, pressing their bodies against one another. The fire acted as a primary physical deterrent, an artificial sun that kept the beasts roaming in the dark at an arm's length. But fire requires constant fuel, and fuel requires watchers. A fire is only a tool if there is a human hand awake to feed it. Therefore, closing your eyes meant surrendering your safety entirely to the person sleeping next to you. But what did this prehistoric alarm system actually look like in the dead of the night? It looked like a staggered, fractured, shifting web of light sleepers. Someone was always listening to the wind. Someone was always watching the shadows. If a twig snapped in the brush, the group needed to instantly transition from a state of rest to a state of lethal defense. Sleep wasn't a deep, uninterrupted coma. It was a highly dynamic, hyper-vigilant state of readiness. Sleeping deeply all at once wasn't a biological goal. In the raw, unfiltered wild, sleeping deeply all at once was a death sentence. Is this ancient night watch just an evolutionary fairy tale, or do we have hard, biological proof running in our veins today? In 1966, a psychologist named Frederick Snyder proposed the sentinel hypothesis. He theorized that group-dwelling animals only survive sleep if sentinels take turns staying awake to keep a constant watch. For decades, we had no idea if this applied to humans, but recently an international team of researchers wanted the absolute truth. They traveled to rural Tanzania to study the Hadza tribe, a modern hunter-gatherer society living in the exact same savanna grasslands where our earliest ancestors evolved. The Hadza live without electricity, without climate control, and hunt on foot with bows. The researchers strapped actigraphs, advanced, watch-like sensors that precisely track movement and light exposure, onto the wrists of 33 Hadza men and women. They recorded every single second of their sleep for 20 solid days. When the scientists finally downloaded the massive trove of data from these actigraphs, an impossible pattern emerged. The results shattered everything the modern medical world thought it knew about human sleep. Out of over 200 hours of continuous observation, the entire 33-person group was simultaneously asleep for a grand total of just 18 minutes. Let me repeat that, 18 minutes. For more than 99.8% of the time, even in the dead of the pitch-black night, someone in that camp was awake or in a state of hyper-arousable light sleep. The tribe operated as a living, breathing surveillance network. At any given moment, 40% of the group was awake. They were constantly subconsciously scanning the environment for threats. What dictated who stayed awake and who slept? Was it a conscious military schedule, or something much deeper? It wasn't a schedule they consciously agreed upon. It was raw biological destiny. The researchers found that the extreme variation in their sleep timing, their chronotype, was driven primarily by age. The elders in the tribe were the larks, naturally going to bed early and waking up in the pre-dawn darkness. The teenagers and young adults were the owls, naturally staying up late into the night. Your teenager's maddening habit of staying up until 2 a.m. and your grandparents' frustrating habit of waking up at 4 a.m. are not behavioral flaws. They are an evolutionary survival tool, a genetically inherited security detail, ensuring that a pair of human eyes was always open. So, if your brain is hardwired to be part of a staggered communal alarm system, what happens when you isolate it in a perfectly silent, perfectly dark, private modern bedroom? It panics. We are experiencing a profound evolutionary mismatch. For hundreds of thousands of years, humans slept in sensorily rich environments. We slept surrounded by the sounds of our tribe breathing, the crackle of the hearth, the hum of insects. In that ancestral world, ambient noise meant safety. Absolute silence meant the sentinels were dead, or a predator was stalking close enough to quiet the forest. Today, we lock ourselves in solitary soundproof boxes. When a distant car door slams or a floorboard creaks, your brain's ancient threat detection mechanism is triggered because you are entirely alone. Your ancient software interprets modern silence and solitude not as a luxury, but as extreme vulnerability. If isolation triggers our panic software, why do we wake up sweating and thrashing, completely unable to cool our racing minds? Because your modern mattress is a thermal trap engineered entirely against your biology. In nature, human sleep is tightly locked to the drastic drop in ambient environmental temperature. To initiate and maintain deep sleep, your core body temperature must drop by roughly 1 degree Celsius. Ancient humans slept on breathable grasses and ash, allowing body heat to rapidly dissipate as the night air cooled. But today, we sleep on dense, synthetic memory foams that absorb and reflect our body heat back at us like an oven. Even a tiny 0.5 degrees Celsius rise in your temperature during REM sleep can shatter your delicate sleep architecture. Your body fights to cool itself, increasing your heart rate and pulling you violently out of restorative rest. When we combine this artificial warmth, solitary confinement, and the blinding glare of modern electric lighting, what ancient rhythm do we completely destroy? We assassinate the first and second sleep. Before the Industrial Revolution and the widespread use of artificial light, humans didn't force themselves into a continuous 8-hour block. They practiced segmented sleep. They slept for about 4 hours, woke up around midnight for 1 to 2 hours of quiet wakefulness, and then slept again until dawn. During this midnight interval, people didn't panic. They reflected, tended the fire, talked, prayed, or had sex. In a landmark 1992 study by psychiatrist Thomas Ware, subjects deprived of artificial light for 14 hours a night naturally reverted to this exact biphasic pattern. During their midnight wakefulness, their brains produced elevated levels of prolactin, inducing a deeply peaceful, meditative state. The modern world, with its brutal factory schedules and melatonin-suppressing blue light, crushed this natural rhythm. We took the natural human instinct to wake up in the dark, and we pathologized it as a disease. Listen closely. You are running 300,000-year-old survival software inside a 21st century cage. The burning secret behind your 3 a.m. anxiety is not that you are broken, diseased, or defective. It is that you are functioning exactly as nature intended. When your eyes snap open in the dead of night, when the absolute silence of your bedroom feels deafening, when your heart races at a shadow in the corner, that is not a sleep disorder. That is the ghost of the savannah. That is your ancestral programming booting up perfectly to protect the tribe that is no longer there. Your biology is simply telling you that the fire is low, the camp is quiet, and it is your turn to take the watch. You are not an insomniac, you are the sentinel.